At Citi Field in New York, the New York Mets play the Texas Rangers. Tuesday Night Baseball is presented by Verizon. New York Mets baseball on SNY is brought to you by Verizon, the largest, most reliable 4G LTE network in America. By Citi, proud partner of the New York Mets. By MTA Bridges and Tunnels, cashless tolling is here. Get Easy Pass today to save up to 50% on tolls. And by Taiwan Tourism, it's time for Taiwan. Search taiwan.net.tw. Well, after an off day yesterday, the Mets homestand continues in the big city tonight. It's a gorgeous day in New York. Perfect day to come out to Citi Field and see the Texas Rangers, who rarely arrive in town. Former Met Carlos Gomez is here with them, and extraordinary accomplishments deserve extraordinary desserts. Congratulations, Adrian. And a pleasant good evening, everybody, and welcome to Citi Field. Gary Cohen, Ron Darling with you tonight as the Mets open a two-game series against the Rangers. We don't see Texas here too often. It's a chance to see the future Hall of Famer Adrian Beltre, who last week became the 31st player and the first Dominican-born player in history to reach 3,000 hits.
You know, maybe one of the most underrated players of his generation. This hit off Wade Miley and the Baltimore Orioles got him to that 3,000 hit plateau. 3,000 hits, 450 or more homers, 600 or more doubles. There's only 4 people on that list now. Beltre joins Yastrzemski, Musial, and Aaron. Quite an accomplishment for a young man that played in Los Angeles at 19 years old and now finishing his career with Texas.
And that's not even thinking about all the gold gloves that he's won as well. Beltre is certainly a star for his age. Meanwhile, the Mets will send Chris Flexen to the mound, his first home start after making his first 2 on the road.
Well, his first start in San Diego, of course, is going to be nerve-ridden. The second one in Colorado for any veteran is nerve-ridden, but here finally getting the pitch in this bigger ballpark, although the Dodgers made it look small. Flexen looking for the numbers that he put up in Binghamton this year that earned him the call-up.
And for the Rangers, Andrew Cashner scratched because of a stiff neck. A.J. Griffin will make the start in his place.
You know, A.J. Griffin in his career started in Oakland 33-17 and was winning this year despite a high ERA. He's been hurt most of the year, but gets this rushed start.
So the Mets and Rangers, a quickie 2-game series. Night game tonight, noon game tomorrow in the shadow of the Unisphere. It's the Mets and the Rangers, all the action coming your way tonight on SNY. SNY is brought to you by Verizon, the largest, most reliable 4G LTE network in America. By StubHub, the official fan-to-fan ticket marketplace of the New York Mets. Download the StubHub app today. And by People's United Bank, see what know-how can do for you. Be at Citi Field Saturday, August 19th. The Mets take on the Marlins at 7:10. The first 15,000 fans in attendance will receive a Yoenis Cespedes bobblehead, courtesy of Delta Airlines. For tickets, visit Mets.com/tickets. Take a look at the Quicken Loans Rocket Arms. The Rocket Arms of Chris Sale, Corey Kluber, and Julio Teheran in the news. Sale against the Rays tonight. Kluber, who has been striking out the world, 12 consecutive starts with 8 or more strikeouts. He'll face the Rockies tonight. And Teheran, who has really struggled in the new ballpark in Atlanta, faces the Phillies.
Not liking how the ball's traveling there.
Well, I don't think any pitcher did. Mark didn't like it either. Beautiful night in New York. Mets and Rangers come on back. The first pitch is imminent. Trey is in despite getting whacked in the back of the head by a foul ball while sitting in the dugout on Sunday. He's okay. Joey Gallo, 30 home runs with a .206 batting average. He's having a historic year in a strange way. Mets and Rangers split 2 games in Texas back in June, and now the second half of the season series starts tonight.
Well, Chris Flexen waiting behind the mound for the first pitch. He needs a good one. See his Land Rover numbers. They're not pretty so far. He's had 2 rough starts. Colorado's tough for anyone to make a start. But, you know, he did so well in Double-A. He needs himself. You want to open some eyes, have a good start here. It's Alexis defense behind Flexen, Cespedes, Conforto, and Bruce. Bruce back out in the outfield because Neil Walker first start at first base. Reyes at second, Rosario up the middle, and Cabrera at third base, and Travis d'Arnaud behind the plate.
I mean, think about that infield that you just showed. Cabrera, who started the year at shortstop, is playing third. Reyes, who began the year at third, is playing second. Walker, who began the year at second, is playing first. And Rosario, who began the year in the minor leagues, is your big league shortstop. So the flexibility that Terry Collins has talked a lot about with these infielders and how he's going to utilize it over the remainder of the season, or at least until one or more of them is traded, it's really starting to show itself.
I wonder for those older players like Walker and Cabrera, does it mean more interest from other teams because at some point of their versatility?
I think that's part of the plan here, right, is to try and increase their value. In Reyes's case, I think that was the plan all along. Remember when he came to spring training, he was supposed to be a utility player, and now he's starting to become one.
Well,
it's so odd to see Reyes playing on the right side of the infield. I almost expect to see Kaz Matsui.
That's right. I mean, you saw them when the first time you played there,
That's
right?
13 years ago, Ronnie. 13.
10 years ago today, Asdrubal Cabrera made his debut for the Cleveland Indians.
Shin-Soo Choo getting set to lead off for Texas. Choo has done a lot of DHing this year, but he's playing right field today. 13th year in the big leagues. 35 years old. And he will get things started for Texas. It's been a disappointing year for the Rangers. After making the postseason and winning the AL West the last 2 years, they're 5 games under 500, but still on the edge of contention. They're only 4 games out in the American League wildcard race. Chris Flexen, first time in a home uniform. First 2 starts on the road. Each one lasted only 3 innings. He'll try and get a little deeper into this game. And his first pitch of the night to Shin-Soo Choo is up and in, and Choo has to vacate. Well, after a series over the weekend against the Dodgers, in which the Dodgers were able to dig in at will, Choo all of a sudden has to bail out.
Maybe a little Monday email.
And a fly ball hit out to right, chasing Bruce back. He's got room on the warning track, and that's the first out of the night. So Choo is retired. And now Elvis Andrus is having his best offensive year. It's hard to believe. Andrus is 28. It's his 9th big league season, and this so far has been his best year.
And it's been interesting because I think when he first came up, you know, when we talk about guys like Lindor and Carlos Correa for Houston, a lot of people felt Elvis was going to be like that when he first started his career, but he's settled into a real good performer and a good defensive player.
But it certainly raises the question of bringing up players when they're extremely young. The Rangers did that with Andrus, brought him up when he was 20, and they also did that with their second baseman Rougned Odor. They brought him up when he was 20. He's in his 4th year, and he's taken a big step backwards this year.
You know, some organizations, Gary, don't have the ability to spend on older players and wait till those players are ready. Sometimes that's where they've got to go get their players.
I mean, you think about the patience the Mets showed in bringing up Ahmed Rosario this year, who's 21, but they certainly could have brought him up earlier in the year. They tried to wait as long as they could till they felt he was fully ready. 1 and 2, and whether he is fully ready or not, we haven't had a big enough sample size to know.
Well, we won't even know at the end of this year. I think this is just kind of his bounce pass into 2018.
Certainly has looked great in the field so far. That's without question. Andrus sitting at 298, 15 home runs. Flexen ahead 1 and 2, and it's grounded foul.
You notice just the first 2 batters that Mr. Flexen is going to pitch inside to the lefties and righties.
After watching the Dodgers tee off game after game after game against the Mets, 25 home runs in the 7 games this season, and the Rangers are that kind of a team. They're a home run hitting team. Off the play with the slider, and it's 2 and 2. The Rangers have hit 171 home runs. That's second in the American League, but they have the lowest team batting average in the American League, 3rd lowest on base percentage in the American League. So their game is all about the power.
Least amount of hits in the American League. You can go on and on. They are stuck where a lot of teams were stuck 4 or 5 years ago, and that is hit the ball out of the park, strike out a lot. That's kind of where they are now.
Andrus has been red hot, hitting .483 over a 7-game hitting streak. Seventh pitch from Flexen to Andrus, and it's tapped slowly down to first. Walker with his first chance, and that's the second out. He'll play a few innings at second base over the weekend. First time he had played first base in the major leagues, and now getting his first start at the position.
Can't get a better first chance than that one right there.
So 2 out and nobody on. Now the youngest player in the lineup for Texas, Nomar Mazara, maybe the most talented, just 22 years old.
You know, when the Mets went to Texas and played, he was the best player by far on the field, but he's come back to the field with his, especially his batting average.
Last 43 games hitting just .179. So Flexen looking for a clean first inning. He got greeted by a leadoff home run in San Diego by Manuel Margot, first man he faced in the big leagues. He gave up a first inning double to DJ LeMahieu in Colorado, but was able to escape the first inning unscathed. It was the third inning that really did harm to him in Colorado, and he came out of that game with the Rockies not only having been battered around in that third, but also with a blister on his index finger. But that blister appears to be no issue as he takes the start tonight. 1-1 to Mazara. 3 infielders on the right side against him. And the fastball in for a strike. 1-2.
To me, Mazara is stuck in this place. He's a big athlete who is a guy who is a doubles hitter, but he's in a ballpark that commands that you should hit the ball out of the ballpark, and I think that is what has happened to him. He usually sprays it around the field. Although Michael Conforto is having quite a year this year with 22 home runs, I don't think of Michael as a home run hitter. A guy, I think of him as a guy who hits line drives around the field. That's what I think of Mazara also.
Well, the other thing about Conforto, I think, that separates him is he has as much opposite field power as anybody around these days. So he can go line to line and still hit his 30 home runs a season. 2-2 coming. Broken bat liner past the mound, but Rosario playing in the perfect spot to throw out Mazara. And Chris Flexen has a 1-2-3 opening inning. Mets come to bat in the bottom of the first against A.J. Griffin with no score. Brewers back in there after missing 2 games with a stiff neck. Neil Walker getting the start at first, as we mentioned. Jose Reyes playing second, as the Mets go up against A.J. Griffin, who's pitching because Andrew Kashner came up with a stiff neck.
Well, his Toyota numbers, you can see 5-2, but his ERA 5.20. But he's given up 12 home runs and only 45 innings pitched, so that's why that ERA is high.
He was on the disabled list for more than 2 months with an intercostal strain. This is only his second start since returning. And Michael Conforto takes a strike. Conforto 0 for his last 7. There are a lot of 0 fors up and down this lineup. You can understand why after the Mets went 12 for 93 in their series against the Dodgers. But Conforto ends that quickly. He drives it and hits it out of here. Another leadoff home run from Michael Conforto to give the Mets an instant lead. His 6th leadoff home run, his 23rd of the year, and it's 1-0 New York.
No, I was just about to spit out that A.J. Griffin is the kind of pitcher, throws 87, 88. He's got a big, slow curveball, changeup, and cutter. Well, Conforto saw his first slow curveball and didn't miss it. Just a little spinner right down the middle of the plate, and this ball got out like a shot up against the facing and back into play.
Now that's Griffin's curveball. He averages 66.8 miles an hour on his curve, which has got to be the slowest of anybody in baseball.
I mean, never seen a pitcher and to be able to wait on a slow curveball like that. I mean, we used to see what El Duque used to like fool around and make fun.
Yeah, I mean, there are guys who will throw a pitch that slow, but not consistently the way Griffin does. That Mets home run means $2,000, enough for No Kid Hungry to provide 20,000 meals courtesy of Citi. Brown pops one up into shallow left, and Mazzara comes in to call. That's the first out.
Well, we saw against the Dodgers a quality pitching, really superb there. Conforto missed a lot of breaking balls, but he certainly didn't miss with this one down the middle. I mean, that ball was hit as hard as we've seen a ball hit this year.
6 leadoff home runs for Conforto, 1 shy of the club record that Curtis Granderson holds. Granderson had 7, and well, Michael's got nearly a third of the season to go. I guess the only question is, will he be hitting leadoff that entire time? Here's Jay Bruce taking a strike. Bruce, one of 3 hitters in the Mets lineup who has faced A.J. Griffin before. He's 0 for 4 against him. Jay sat out both Saturday and Sunday with a stiff neck. Back in there tonight. And he gets straightened up by Griffin 1-1, and that's about where Griffin's going to top out. 88, maybe 89 miles an hour every now and again. Griffin had the one big year pitching for Oakland in 2013. He won 14 games that year, but even that year he led the American League in home runs allowed. He gave up 36 that season in 200 innings.
It's a big ballpark too.
Then he went down with Tommy John surgery and missed basically the next 2 years before returning last year. Made 23 starts last season with Texas. Oakland had let him go after he had the Tommy John surgery, and Rangers signed him as a free agent. That's pulled down to first, handled by Joey Gallo, and that's the second out.
Well, defensively for the Rangers, Gogo Gomez in center field started his career with the Mets in 2007. Beltre with the 5 Gold Gloves at third base. Joey Gallo, a little defensively challenged at first base, and Chirinos behind the plate. Now that Jonathan Lucroy has been traded to the Rockies.
So that outfield is Noma, Gogo, and Suchu.
Yeah, there you go.
Here's Cespedes. Cespedes just an infield hit in his last 12 at bats. Nods out at his former Oakland teammate A.J. Griffin before taking the turn at bat, and takes a fastball high for ball 1.
So the outfield could be Japanese anime at some point.
There's a lot of defensive talent in that outfield.
I remember when Carlos Gomez first started with the Mets, playing right field, and Beltran in center field, and Endy Chavez in left field, and boy, they could go get it.
That's drilled down the left field line, hooking toward the corner. It's out of here. Yoenis Cespedes adds a home run. His 12th of the year, and it's 2-0 New York.
Well, one of the things we've been watching all season long with the kind of deficient power numbers of Cespedes is that We've said from the beginning he's one of the best breaking ball hitters we've ever seen. Well, he's been missing that breaking ball. He didn't miss that changeup here. See the changeup grip? Supposed to be down and in at center, maybe down. And just raked out of here.
Saturday against the Dodgers, the Mets hit 3 first-inning home runs against Rich Hill, Conforto, Flores, and Granderson. Now they've hit 2 first-inning home runs against A.J. Griffin.
Shows you how strong he is. He's off on his front foot, really ahead of that ball, and just kind of flicked it over the left field fence.
Cespedes, his first home run at home since June 17th, and only his 3rd home run at Citi Field this season. I believe just his 7th RBI. 7 RBIs at home. It's August the 8th. Keep waiting for him to go on one of these streaks, and maybe that's the one that gets him going. 1-2 to Walker, and the curveball strikes him out, and that ends the inning. Griffin with that slow curve fans Walker, but the Mets go deep twice. Conforto and Cespedes. 2-0 New York after 1. Adrian Beltre, who had his first ever 5-hit game in his career at Shea Stadium in 2004 as a Los Angeles Dodger. Now 13 years later, playing at Citi Field with 455 home runs and 3,005 hits under his belt. And Flexen misses outside with a slider.
With that interesting light that we get around 7:30 this time of year. Shines right in the batters. Well, it just lights them up. That's what it does.
And that one goes over the head of Beltre, who, as we mentioned, got struck in the head by a foul ball while sitting in the dugout on Sunday, and that was pretty scary.
That's 2 balls now at the coconuts of the Texas hitters. First one to Chu, and then this one to Beltre. That's legit.
After having seen Mitch Haniger get hit in the mouth on that last road trip.
That's right.
Those things just scare you to death. And now Flexen behind 3-0.
See what happens with this ball. Watch it whiz by his helmet. Is that had a little run to it, so it kind of chased him. He couldn't get out, barely get out of the way.
And a 4-pitch walk puts Beltre aboard to lead off the second, the first base runner for the Rangers. Flexen walked a total of 5 in 6 innings in his first 2 starts. And now Rougned Odor who has had a really puzzling year. Last year, 33 home runs at 271. This year, he's hit the home runs, got 24, but hitting just 217. 254 on base percentage. He almost never walks.
It's like a smallish player who's got pop, who's decided to hit the ball at the ballpark. The Mets see Freddie Galvis, the Philadelphia Phillies, same kind of approach.
I think Odor has more power than Galvis. This one popped up foul. D'Arnaud back for a look. I mean, Odor has punch.
Yes. Yes, he does. It doesn't matter what he does in the game. He'll always be a part of it because of that.
Yeah. First line in his bio.
That's right.
Well, one thing the Rangers have done, they've locked up some of their young players, and Odor is one. He signed a 6-year deal that takes him through the 2022 season. Signed that after that big year he had last year. He's only 23, and he's already in his 4th big league season. Remember when the Mets were in Texas, he made the key error in the 9th inning of the 2nd game that gave the Mets the split in that series.
He's an offensive player. His defense is not up to snuff usually. You won't be known for his defensive play, but he's got some serious pop.
Beltre at first and nobody out. Carlos Gomez on deck. We talked before about how the Rangers are a very home run oriented team, and here's the best measure of it. This is an unbelievable stat from Elias. You know, it's been a big home run hitting year in baseball in general. As Odor flies one out to right center, back goes Bruce onto the track, back near the wall. Conforto makes the catch right near the fence. Odor almost put a charge into one, and that's a long first down.
Well, ballpark makes a difference. That's why Odor's looking on the board for the replay, because in Texas that is 10-15 rows back.
Especially
easily.
The wind blows out to right there.
Right.
So there have been 56 players in the major leagues this year who've already hit 20 or more home runs. 56. And of those 56, there are only 3 of those players who've hit 20 or more home runs who have batting averages below 220. All 3 of those players play for the Texas Rangers. Mike Napoli, Rougned Odor, and Joey Gallo.
It's remarkable.
Here's Gomez. Missed a lot of time with a hamstring injury earlier this year. And he takes ball 1, and that's what the Rangers do. Only the Blue Jays have hit a higher percentage of their runs from home runs. And the Mets were higher on that list.
That's right. You said that Texas is in the wild card race. Well, just about every team in the American League is in the wild card race.
But you know, all it takes is a little hot streak. That's it through the hole. A base hit for Gomez, and Beltre will pull in at second. So the first hit against Flexen, a 1-out single for the former Met Gomez.
Little slider down middle. Good hitting by Gomez. Went down and got it a la Beltre on that knee. You know my theory. My theory always is, unless there's an unusual year like a couple of years ago, the NL Central, he had a lot of wins by 3 teams. You play 500 baseball to September 1st, you're in some kind of race.
Not going to be true in the National League this year because of the way Arizona and Colorado have separated themselves in the wild card. Here's Joey Gallo, who has a chance to do something that nobody has ever done in the history of baseball this year, although his recent hot streak may mess that up. He's hitting 206 now because he's on a hot streak. He only has 20 singles all year. But here's the thing that's never been done. There's never been a player with an 800 OPS for a season who's hit under 200 for their batting average. And he has a chance to be that guy.
Not even Rob Deere or?
No. 30 home runs this season for Gallo, and he gets under one to shallow right. Bruce coming on. And he puts it away for the second inning. I mean, Joey Gallo epitomizes what the game is becoming.
Yeah.
All or nothing, home run or strikeout approach.
Gallo's one of those guys that probably had a future as a pitcher also, and decided to become a hitter. And you're right. You can see by that swing.
Well, you know who his hitting coach was as a kid? It was Chris Bryant's dad. Was his hitting coach, and he played with Bryce Harper on a lot of youth teams.
I was going to say it was either Bryant or Mr. Harper, one or the other.
I mean, that Las Vegas area has become such a hotbed, particularly for hitting talent. Here's Robinson Chirinos, who had been the backup catcher until the Rangers traded away Jonathan Lucroy. Now he's become the primary catcher. He takes inside, and so far primary catcher has not necessarily agreed with him. His last 16 games is hitting 143.
But again, a little dangerous because he's got some pop.
Remember, he hit that big home run against Jerry Blevins in the series in Texas in the 8th inning that tied that second game. Mets and Rangers played a wild 2-game series down there. That first game ended up 10-8 in favor of the Rangers. It was back and forth that whole first few innings.
Those are the kind of games you can get in Texas because it's so hot. Ball carries great, and it's a wind blows out.
A.J. Griffin, a pitcher who's never had a hit in the big leagues, is on deck. So Flexen has an open base. That open base happens to be third. He's behind Chirinos 2-0, and now 3-0.
The dynamics of hitting in the 8th slot in front of the pitcher is something you have to learn or relearn when you play these interleague games for American League teams.
And a 4-pitch walk to Chirinos. The second walk of the inning loads up the bases. Well, that's the last 10 years for the Rangers. They won the National League, the American League West, each of the last 2 years, only to lose to Toronto in the division series both last season and the year before.
Had that unbelievable series against the Cardinals where they were 1 pitch and 1 out away. Ron Washington was the manager then, and the Cardinals came back.
That's when Nelson Cruz misplayed a ball in right field, kept them alive. Here's Griffin, 0 for 9 in his career.
A.J. Griffin shaking his head like I got it, but that front foot wants to go towards third base. He's about 5 feet from the outside corner.
That's had a pitcher named Dae-Sung Koo, who had never come to bat in his life and stood about as far from home plate as Griffin in his first at bat. Struck out. Second at bat in the big leagues, he ambushed Randy Johnson for a double. So
no way.
Sometimes it can all be an act.
It's not an act if you throw the ball in the outside corner. It's 2 more, and let's go to hit.
And now it's 0-2 to Griffin. If A.J. Griffin looks like a surfer dude who plays the guitar, it's because he is. He's a musician.
It's from El Cajon, right? Which is San Diego.
University of San Diego.
Lester Bangs and Frank Zappa are from that same area.
Lester Bangs.
Yes.
A lot of people listening may not know who Lester Bangs was, but he's a great rock critic
For the Rolling Stone.
who got name checked in REM's song.
That's right.
It's the end of the world as we know it. Might be getting there, Ronnie.
Yeah.
1-2 to Griffin, and slashes 1 foul.
I think he's got to get some new lumber, doesn't he? He doesn't even know.
Shin-Soo Choo would be next. So you've got pitcher number 64 facing pitcher number 64, and it's not March.
It's August 8th.
It's not even September.
Dog days of summer.
Bases loaded, 2 out, and Griffin lays off the slider, and it's 2-2. Well, he's hanging in. Doesn't have a big league hit, doesn't have a big league RBI, doesn't even have a big league sacrifice to his credit. Beautiful night in New York. A little of that sun glinting off the buildings in center field and right into those glasses of A.J. Griffin. And there's strike 3 called, and Flexen finally finds his way out of it. His first strikeout of the night as the Rangers leave him loaded in the top of the second. Flexen getting the out he needs. He's up 2-0 in the second. Mets off to a fast start tonight. Home runs from Michael Conforto and Yoenis Cespedes in the opening inning. And Jose Reyes leads off the second against A.J. Griffin. Reyes hitless in his last 10 bats, and Griffin quickly falls behind him 2-0. Travis d'Arnaud on deck, and then Ahmed Rosario in the bottom of the second. Reyes has faced Griffin before, 2 for 6 against him in the American League. And the fastball away, and it's 3-0. Reyes draws a 4-pitch walk to start the second inning. Stay connected with a fully customizable experience with the MLB.com at Bat app. Get New York Mets home screen icons and app features, as well as game day, live game video highlights, radio broadcasts, StatCast, news, and more. Download MLB.com at Bat today. Here's d'Arnaud as the average up to 241 for the year. He had the only hit for the Mets on Sunday night when they were completely stifled by Hyun-Jin Ryu. Mets had only one base runner against Ryu in 7 innings, and a lot of, let's just say, not very competitive at bats. That scored just 4 runs on 12 hits in that series against the Dodgers, and 3 of the runs came in the first inning on Saturday with 3 solo home runs. 5 in a row out of the strike zone for Griffin. Now Griffin was supposed to start the day game tomorrow Not sure what time he found out he was starting tonight. We were told that Andrew Cashner was scratched about 4 hours before the game tonight. And that's 6 straight out of the strike zone, so Griffin really struggling right now. That's how the Mets performed against the Dodgers. When they had chances, they left them on. 4 solo home runs Saturday, scored all the runs that they tallied in the series. Got shut out Friday, got shut out Sunday.
I'm hearing in my ear that that's the first time the Dodgers have ever swept a season series against the Mets.
Well, they used to play 12 games a year back in the day, and the Dodgers at one time won 11 straight from the Mets over the 63 and 64 seasons, which was Juan d'Arnaud. Of course, those were events back then when the Dodgers and Giants used to come first to the Polo Grounds and then to Shea. Those were always the biggest crowds the Mets had in those early years when the Mets were not very good and there was still a lot of affection for the teams that had left.
I can say even into the 80s there were a lot of people that would wear the blue B cap to the games when the Mets played the Dodgers.
By the way, there were a lot of Dodger fans here over the weekend. I think.
Oh, were there?
I think there have been more Dodger fans hatched in the last month and a half.
Right? Why not?
Winning 44 out of 51 will do that for you.
Well, international flavor of the pitchers that they had pitching in the series also.
2-1 to d'Arnaud, and Travis unloads deep left field toward the stands. It's out of here. 7 batters deep, 3rd home run of the night for the Mets in a 4-0 lead. 10th of the year for d'Arnaud and his first at Citi Field. Travis's first 9 home runs all came on the road. He finally has one in his own ballpark. Don't think he didn't know that.
Well, Griffin hasn't even made it through the lineup yet. 3 home runs in. This ball is supposed to be away, a dart. Instead of it's on a tee in the middle of the plate.
It's 15 home runs that Griffin's allowed in 46 innings. Ahmed Rosario pops the first one up and they go out of play.
Griffin's got to be precise. We talked about him throwing 87, but if you watch his baseball, folks at home, it is as straight as any fastball you're going to see. So he's got to be more down in the strike zone, more on the corners. Hasn't been yet.
His last start was tremendous. He pitched Thursday in Minnesota, gave up 2 hits in 6 innings in a 4-1 win. Very different kind of start for him so far tonight. Rosario swings through the fastball and it's 0-2. Rosario hitless in his last 8 at bats. And what we heard about Rosario when the Mets were hesitant at bringing him up, that he was not very selective at the plate, that has come to pass through his first half-dozen games. He pulls that one down to Beltre in 3rd, and the 5-time Gold Glover throws him out 1 away.
Yeah, wrong guy to hit it to right there. Hanging curveball, but Rosario kind of got it off the end. Watch how he fields this off to the side, but he just has such great hands. And look that ball right into the glove. He's an unorthodox fielder. You'll see him play a lot of balls off to the side. Throw kind of going away from first base, but so effective.
Chris Flexen 0 for 2 to begin his big league career. Strike 3 call. Second strikeout for Griffin. So 2 out and nobody on. Now Conforto who hit Griffin's second pitch of the game off the facing of the Coca-Cola corner for his 23rd home run of the year. His second leadoff home run in the last 3 games and his 6th leadoff home run this season. I wonder, as we move through the final third of this season, whether there's going to be a point when Conforto was moved out of that leadoff spot, just to get a look at how he fares in more of a run production part of the lineup. I think there was some thought given to, if Ahmed Rosario got off to a hot start, maybe you think about trying him out as a leadoff hitter, but I think they need to wait till he gets his feet wet.
I think Rosario, you want to hide him down at the bottom of the order. This is my feeling about Conforto. I think he's going to be your 3rd place hitter, but he's having so much success this year. I would not change a thing for as far as this year is concerned. He's going to be able to make that transition. That's not going to be a difficult thing for him. He's a natural born hitter. But he's having such a great year. Why change anything? It's the one of the few things that's working.
2 high, ball 4, second walk of the inning for Griffin. And yet another visit to the mound for Robinson Chirinos has already worn out a path tonight, with Griffin struggling these first 2 innings. Mets have already hit 3 home runs tonight. And now Cabrera, who flied out his first time up. Cabrera had just a phenomenal road trip. He had 390 on the trip out west, and then he went 0 for 12 in the series against the Dodgers, which gives you an idea of how that series went for the Mets.
The Dodgers brought some truck horses in there, a little different pitching than he saw on the road trip.
And that slow curveball in for a strike.
I like that pitch on the first pitch, first strike. Here's the 5-finger changeup. Really a palm ball. The tightness is between the thumb and either the ring finger or the last finger, the pinky finger.
How in the world do you control that pitch, though?
It's you know, it's innate. It just feels right in your hands. But I've seen guys. I had a teammate, Joe Baver. Do you remember him?
Sure.
Right-handed pitcher. He had a great palm ball. And the key to it is you hold it, you throw it as hard as you can, and you pull down on it. Those are the 3 things you have to remember when you throw it.
Which finger does it come off last?
It can come. There's 2 ways to do it. You can do it the thumb and ring finger, is where the pressure is, or the thumb and the pinky is where the pressure is. One of those, and when it comes off, it should come off your middle finger, pulling down.
Here's the curveball, hit out to right along the line. Chu coming over to make the catch, and that retires the side. Nice running grab by Chu, but the Mets extend their lead on the Travis d'Arnaud 2-run homer. First time Travis has connected in Flushing this year, his 10th of the year. 2-run shot makes it 4-0 Mets after 2. Third inning, top of the batting order for Texas. Shin-Soo Choo leads off against Chris Flexen. Choo hit one to the warning track in right field, leading off the game. And Flexen starts him with a curveball outside for ball one. Shin-Soo Choo, 13 years in the big leagues, a lifetime on base percentage of .380. And his best year in Cincinnati, which is what earned him the 7-year, $130 million contract he got from the Rangers.
A little nice parlay by him.
Yeah, that year he had a .423 on base percentage and hit 21 home runs.
He's a sabermetrician's god.
61 walks this year, puts him 5th in the American League. And he takes a fastball inside, 2-1.
Well, we got two pitchers here who don't have overpowering stuff. Phil Cuzzy behind the plate. He's got a very smallish strike zone. Hitter friendly.
What do you used to call it? The tin cup?
But the tin cup, you got to throw it in a tin cup.
There's your Spectrum high-speed pitch, and Flexen with much the better of the velocity over Griffin. But he's walked 2. He's behind Choo 3-1, and he gets a borderline strike, 3-2. Elvis Andrus on deck, and then Nomar Mazara for the Rangers in the third. Flexen staked to a 4-0 lead. The third has been his Waterloo in his first 2 starts. Choo lifts one out to left center. Cespedes back, has room on the warning track for the first out. Third warning track fly ball hit by the Rangers in the first 3 innings.
You know, we were talking before about the palm ball, which was with 5-fingered grip. Well, he also throws his breaking ball very unusual. He has a 3-finger grip. Watch both his thumb and his pointer finger come off the baseball. So really it's his last 3 fingers that are gripping that ball as he curves it at the plate. My dad, when I was a kid, used to call that pitch a slip pitch, and that's the reason why he throws at 66 miles an hour as opposed to harder.
I'm not sure I've ever seen a big league pitcher throw a curve without his thumb on the ball. How do you control that?
Thumb or even the pointer finger. I mean, the middle finger usually is the key for a real good curveball, but he kind of grips it with all 3 fingers. I'd be interested to know if he doesn't have big hands, because sometimes when you're a guy who doesn't have bigger hands, you have to use more fingers to kind of get the same pressure that other guys do.
I mean, we've seen guys extend their index finger and just use their middle finger, but I don't think I've ever seen a guy with his thumb out like that.
Yeah, we've seen guys kind of like fold the thumb in. We've seen him have it off the ball. I think Wainwright throws it like that, but not to have both these off, these 3 on it, and boom, turning it over. It's very unusual. That's what makes pitching great. You can do it in so many different ways. It's almost like he's going to snap his fingers at some point. But instead of really forcing it and making it spin, it kind of just slips out of the top of his hand, starts that rotation, and then comes back in the zone.
I mean, isn't that a pitch that you would teach to a younger pitcher because of fear that curveballs could be detrimental?
Yeah, my father used to teach a lot of kids, because I didn't pitch when I was a kid, but he used to teach a lot of kids the thing, like I said, called the slip pitch. And the way he taught it, instead of holding it with 3 fingers, is that you would take your pointer finger and put it over your middle finger. And what you'd do is, as you'd pull, you wouldn't snap your elbow. The ball would just slip. You put your finger right on top like that, and when you would throw it, you wouldn't snap your elbow. You just pull down on it, and the ball would slip out of the top. It would have a gentle little tumble, but enough to face a little leaguer or someone 12, 13 years old.
But here's Griffin throwing it in the big leagues.
Wow.
Flexen strikes out Andrus. That's his 2nd strikeout. You know, there was a feeling in the Mets management about Flexen that his first start, family and friends in California.
Okay.
First start, throw it out. Second start, Coors Field. It's Coors Field, throw it out. Let's give him one start where there's nothing special going on.
Okay.
And I guess that start is tonight. So maybe you eliminate the first two and start judging him tonight?
Well, the nerve should be not completely gone. You always want to have some nerves in there, but you know, he's had a couple of starts to think about. Okay, wait a minute. I've been really successful all summer doing this, and I haven't done that in the first two starts. Let's get back to what I was doing the rest of the summer.
Grounded into the shift. Reyes is there to play it. Mazzara retired, and Flexen's got a 1-2-3 third. Things are certainly looking up for the 23-year-old from California. 4-0 in the third. Banking in your best interest. It comes from Adrian Beltre, who's 38 years old and certainly sees the clock ticking and not all that happy about the fact that the Rangers tore down at the trading deadline, trading Yu Darvish and Jonathan Lucroy.
Darvish, though, was 0-5 in his last 8 starts for the Rangers, so it wasn't exactly like he was helping out the cause.
Looked pretty good in his first start for the Dodgers.
Yes,
though.
he did.
Got to witness that here on Friday night. Jay Bruce leads off in the third, flies one out to right field. This one's playable for Chu. Right in front of the warning track, 1 pitch and 1 out. It's playing home run derby against A.J. Griffin tonight. 3 home runs already, including 1 off the bat of Cespedes in the opening inning. Cespedes at a rocket into the seats in left field, his 12th of the year and just his 3rd at Citi Field. It's been a while since we've seen the canary yellow sleeve. Perhaps a harbinger of, well, usually spring, but we're a little late in the year for that. But a harbinger perhaps of something good for Cespedes.
That's right.
Slow curve from Griffin for a strike, and it's 0-2.
A little more sharpness to it from A.J.
Popped up. And Odor calls for it. 2 out. Here's today's Verizon trivia question. 3 active players to make their major league debut before the 2000 season. Well,
we know 1 here.
1 here. Cologne obviously is 2. And
yeah.
Then who's the 3rd?
Dave Fried is just written a card, and he's showing it to me like I'm on a game show, and it says easy on it.
The problem is 2 of the older players in the major leagues did not make their debut before the 2000 season. Ichiro did not.
That's right.
And Oredicki did not. Walker.
Albert did not.
Oh, came up in 0-1.
Yep. Guess it's not as easy for us.
Oh, Beltran.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
There we go. Nothing like having the announcers guess the trivia question, get the answers. Fantastic job by us.
You know, we get it so rarely. We might as well, you know, when we do know it, we might as well flaunt it.
Well, we didn't even know we were thinking out loud. I think they just need to turn down the volume.
Well, it's like we always told Keith, you know, you're on TV right now. You do remember that, right? Walker lunges and pops up the curveball. And Gallo, right along the line, catches it in foul territory. And Griffin has his first 1-2-3 inning. 4-0 Mets after 3. That's with a trio of home runs tonight against A.J. Griffin. Chris Flexen looking to get deeper into a game than he has in his big league career. Faces Adrian Beltre to start the fourth. He walked Beltre on 4 pitches his first time up, nearly beamed him along the way. He keeps it away from Adrian for ball 1. Rougned Odor and Carlos Gomez to follow. Beltre now 30th on the all-time hit list with 3,005, 2 behind Al Kaline for 29th. You get to 3,000, and then with your next hit, you pass Roberto Clemente, whose 3,000th hit was his last hit against John Matlack. Beltre first came up with the Dodgers, parlayed a 48 home run season into a big contract in Seattle. Didn't play very well for the Mariners, but then went to Boston and finally landed in Texas, and his career really hit its stride. 4-time All-Star. 7th year in Texas now. Here's a strike, 2-2. You see his hits by team. You can see he's been more productive as a Ranger than in any of his other stops. It's a 10-footer, and Darno throws him out, 1 away. Well, the Rangers general manager John Daniels, who hails from Queens, is very impressed with his star third baseman.
Always like unbelievably prepared. You know, I mean, he plays through some injuries that, like, I mean, played with a colostomy bag in L.A. You know, he played with torn thumb ligaments 2015 and was better when he came back from it. Needed surgery at the end of the season. Played through, I mean, all these sort of things. When our guys have, you know, little aches and pains, they're going to play through it. You know, I mean, you got this, you know, old man kind of rolling out there with all these maladies, and like, how are you going to, you know, sit on the bench because you have a sore calf?
It's leadership by example.
It's also how you get to 3,000 hits. You know, you don't play 120 games a year. You play 140, 150. Interesting. We gave all those numbers, but you know, he put a lot of time in two ballparks where the ball didn't travel, Dodger Stadium and Seattle. Rewarded now in Texas, the ball does travel, but he had a huge season for the Dodgers when he hit, I think, 48 home runs.
Yeah, that was his last year there, which is amazing when you think about the history of Dodger Stadium. I think I don't think of any. Did Sean Green hit 49 for the Dodgers?
I'm not sure, but he hit in the 40s. I'm just thinking Bellinger's having the kind of year he's having. He won't hit 48, maybe.
Well, I don't know about that. Maybe not this year.
No.
Didn't come up till April 25th. By the way, Sunday night.
Yes.
The one he hit to center field. The sound of that home run.
I just heard the boom today. Our audio.
It sounded like an SST went overhead. Good changeup by Flexen to get even on Odor 2-2.
Our fog hat engineer of audio, Mr. Richie Rayner, played it for me today, and it was unbelievable. Sounded like a firecracker.
Now, part of that,
or an M80.
Part of that was great sound engineering. The other part was it was really well hit. That goes inside, hits the foot of Odor, and he'll go to first base. So the Rangers have a one-out base runner after Flexen had retired 5 in a row. And Odor walking it off.
You know, we were talking about Griffin's changeup earlier, almost like a 5-finger palm ball. Here's the difference in the grip of Flexen. More the traditional in the end of the fingers, circle grip. Got a little bit of space in between the palm and the ball, unlike Griffin's. Odor's hurting at first base.
Still got that shin guard on. Usually they chuck that away quickly.
Maybe we got to play the John Daniels sound again for Odor here so I can hear it. Got hit right on the top of the foot.
Look at the back foot.
Yeah, the back foot right on the top of it, though.
The one that didn't have the shin guard.
Well, sometimes that front foot, Gary, you can kind of move out of the way. That back foot usually is entrenched, and you just take it right on the bone.
Unless you're Carlos Gonzalez. Did you see the shots we showed of him moving his back foot?
That's right.
He never would have got hit by that. And it's still paining him quite a bit. Jeff Bannister, the manager, is out there with the trainer, and the first base coach Hector Ortiz.
You know, you're talking about he signed a 6-year deal. I think part of that deal is he got some horses with that deal. One of the more unusual big signings.
Like Cespedes?
Yeah.
New York Mets baseball on SNY is brought to you by the new Caramel M&Ms. M&M's is making caramel fun. So Odor shakes it off, points to the spot, says to Neil Walker, got me right there. Neil looks away, really doesn't want to hear it.
Yeah, just rub some dirt on it. That's what they tell you all the time.
Does that really work?
No, but it makes you angrier because someone's telling you after you've been hurt to rub some dirt on it.
I think mud feels better than actual like
coldness of it.
Well, you know, it can be soothing like a mud bath. Here's Carlos Gomez, who had a base hit through the hole in the left his first time up. The only hit against Flexen so far tonight.
there's going to be a time when almost all the players are wearing a helmet with a protective flap?
Yes.
Yeah, I agree.
And I also think there's going to be a time not too far off when all the pitchers are going to be wearing protective hats as well. The Alex Torres hat or something like it.
I was thinking more like, when I was a kid, the Red Sox had a backup catcher, Bob Montgomery. When he used to come to hit, he'd wear like a kind of a plastic shield in his hat, but you could never really see it, and it didn't make the hat look much different. Maybe something like that, although I wouldn't think that would be very protective.
Yeah, it would protect the top of your head. That's a double play ball right at Rosario. Reyes with the turn. 6-4-3 double play as they double up the speedy Gomez, and the side retired. Flexen through 4 for the first time in his career, up 4-0. Home fourth inning. Jose Reyes leads off against A.J. Griffin and swings over that very slow curveball. 0-1. And when dialed back to 64. Reyes walked and scored in front of Darno's home run in the second. Mets have hit 3 home runs tonight for their 4 runs. Griffin misses with a fastball. 1-1. Darno on deck. Rosario behind him. Another curveball that bends in for a strike at 63 miles an hour. How low can he go?
Look at Reyes. He's perplexed.
I mean, again, this is not a trick. This is the way he throws his curve, and he strikes out Reyes with it for the first out. Third strikeout for Griffin. Let's go to the M&M Sweet Seats, and to Steve Gelbs' report tonight is brought to you by M&M. Steve?
Well, I'm not in the M&M Sweet Seats. I'm right here in the camera well, but I will continue on with this report here, Gary. And, one of the things that we see is a coach on the field in the dugout, but I don't think that we appreciate, or especially the people at home appreciate, all that goes into their daily routine getting ready for the game. And so we decided to focus on one of them, Glenn Sherlock, for today. All that he does to get going for the game. And the routine starts 9 hours before game time, the first day of a series. 10 a.m. light prep at home. Then he comes to the park around noon, gets in a couple hours of video work before early on-field work, a catcher's meeting, pitcher's side sessions, batting practice, an advanced meeting, and then a bullpen with the catcher, going out to the bullpen with the catcher before the game. And there's so much that we can get into, but to me, the most intriguing thing as Darno pops up and out here is what he does during that video session between noon and 2 o'clock, getting himself ready to tell the base runners what to do against the outfielders, and then getting his catchers ready. First, he goes through batter by batter on the other team, an incredible amount of video to try and figure out a way to attack that batter. Then he looks at the base runners on the other team, trying to figure out who he needs to worry about in terms of stealing a base, potential hit and run guys, and then in terms of, again, the outfield arms, it's a lot more than just, hey, this guy has a really strong throwing arm. It's how does he move laterally? Does he charge the ball well? So much to consume in those 2 hours and then eventually teach.
Steve, when you have the advanced meetings, what do they do in those meetings before the game?
Well, for Glenn Sherlock, in his advanced meeting, it is about preparing the batters as Rosario flies out to center field here to end the inning. But it's about preparing the batters for what they're going to see with all three outfield arms and really who they can run on and in what situations.
Busy day for all the coaching staff. It's a hard job. 4-0 Mets after 4. Summer sales event is on. For big savings, go to buyfordnow.com. Gorgeous night in New York. Temperature in the mid 70s. Humidity's down a little bit. Feels more like perfect day in May than the dog days of August.
Well, you and I love the dog days. We love the weather as hot as you can get it. So, but it is. It's a perfect day to watch a ball game.
Joey Gallo leads off the 5th inning for Texas. Gallo flied out to right his first time up. You know, as the game has evolved over the last couple of years, that's driven to deep right center field, and forget that. That is way out of here. Home run number 31 for Joey Gallo on the first pitch of the 5th inning. Gets the Rangers on the board. And that shows you the raw power of Joey Gallo and what he brings to the table for Texas. 4-1.
There was a day in this game that the first pitch breaking ball, you'd like spit on it because you wouldn't take it. You were looking for a fastball. But he gets a breaking ball on the outside part of the plate, and this shot out of here like a rocket. I mean, how about the balls that have jumped out of here so far? This ball is down and away. He covers it nicely. And Joey Gallo is what, 6'6", 260, 70 pounds?
Well, I was about to say before he hit that ball out of sight that Joey Gallo is the epitome of the 3 true outcomes that have become part of the conversation in baseball: strikeouts, walks, home runs. Supposedly the only things that pitchers can control. It takes fielding out of play. Well, There are more of the 3 true outcomes in baseball this year than there ever have been before. More home runs, more strikeouts, more walks. That's pulled over the bag. A fair ball for Chirinos, and that'll go all the way into the corner. So back-to-back extra base hits for the Rangers to start this 5th inning. Chirinos with a double, just his 6th double of the year.
Well, I talk about this all the time. The 5th inning for a young pitcher looking for his first win with a good-sized lead. Sometimes the toughest 3 outs you'll ever get, and now he's given up a home run and a double.
Now we'll face the pitcher Griffin, who has never had a hit or a sacrifice in the big leagues, and clearly will be asked to bunt here. Anyway, with all the strikeouts and home runs and walks have now gone up the last few years as well. We're up to 33% of all plate appearances in the majors are decided by walk, home run, or strikeout. That's the highest it's ever been. 33%. Joey Gallo, 3 true outcomes.
Yeah.
59% of his plate appearances end in walk, strikeout, or home run.
Could finish this year 2/3 of his outcomes. It's and only one of those has any action. Right? The walk and the strikeout do not, which is not good for the game, in my opinion.
It was interesting. I heard an interesting quote from Rob Manfred the other day regarding that. As Griffin is asked to swing away and fouls it off. He said strikeouts are exciting for the team whose pitcher is striking out the other hitter. And there's some validity to that.
That's of course.
Depending on the situation, of course, as well. But fewer balls put into play. I think ultimately, from an aesthetic standpoint,
Yeah.
that makes it a little more difficult for baseball. Well, he wasn't swinging on 0-1, so he's not going to swing, not going to bunt on 0-2. And he takes a call, 3rd strike. 3rd strikeout for Flexen.
Hey, listen, I think Mr. Manfred can be right about that, Commissioner Manfred, because I sat here in Flushing and watched some of the greatest games I've ever seen with number 16 striking out the world. But we're talking about pitchers that aren't strikeout pitchers, averaging 6, 7, 8, 9 strikeouts per inning pitched.
And we gave the stat last week. The last 5 months have been the 5 highest strikeout months in the history of the game. They keep setting new records every month for the most strikeouts ever in any month. And it's like anything else. In small measures, strikeouts are exciting.
Oh, yeah.
Home runs are exciting. But when all anybody's doing is hitting home runs or striking out, that kind of detracts, I think, from how exciting each event is. That's grounded down to first, and Walker handles it to retire Chu for the 2nd out as Chirinos goes to 3rd.
You know, there was a time where there were 5 strikeout pitchers in each league, and you knew exactly who they were. And not that other pitchers would not have a big strikeout night, but that was unusual. So you pulled for them. But, you know, if each team, and I'm talking about the team, because we don't have starting pitchers who last a long time. So the pitching staffs, if both teams strike out 15 to 20 times a game, I don't see how that can be exciting, because it's not one person doing it. It's a pitching staff doing it, which means nothing.
Well, Eric Goodell is up with another early call in the Mets bullpen. He was the first man out of the bullpen Sunday night. Slow ground ball hit by Andrews. Tough play for Rosario. Gloves it and fires, and he got him. Side retired. Ahmed Rosario charging hard and throwing out the speedy Elvis Andrews to get Flexen through the 5th inning. That saved a run. Coming in hard and throwing on the move. Got him by a stride. Halfway through, 4-1 New York. through 5 innings with a 4-1 lead. Michael Conforto and Yoenis Cespedes and Travis d'Arnaud all with home runs tonight for the Mets. 4-1 lead as we go to the bottom of the 5th, and Flexen will get his second at bat.
Needs a knock, right?
Well, he's 0 for 3 to start his big league career. He actually did a pretty good job in limited at bats in the minors. Went 4 for 15. That's 267. Yeah. And Griffin falls behind him 2-0.
Well, if he's going to get one, it'd be here, but he shouldn't be swinging 2-0 starting off an inning if you're a pitcher. Got to take this pitch. There you go.
And Flexen drives one to left, and he's got his first big league hit, and he'll get 2 bases out of it. Put that ball on the souvenir shelf. Chris Flexen with his first major league hit. Nice fake. Threw it off the screen.
Off the netting.
That's a new one.
Yes. Outfielders Mazar playing very shallow there.
Conforto pops one up in foul ground. Beltre coming over to the railing, reaching and makes the catch. Beautifully done. 38 years old, still scampering like a colt. And Beltre makes a fine play to retire Conforto for the first out.
Well, clinic on how to make that play. Get over there, put your glove in foul territory, or over the little barrier there, and then just try to find the baseball, and he did.
Press the guys in the camera well.
Well, you ever notice most people run over there and then watch it and try to jab their glove at it, lay it out there, and that way when you pick it up you can just move your hand.
So that's the first out. Flexen still at second, and now as Asdrubal Cabrera, who's 0 for 2 tonight, flied out twice, as Ronnie mentioned. It's the 10-year anniversary of Asdrubal's big league debut with the Indians. Interestingly enough, that debut was a 13-inning game against the White Sox. He ended up playing the last 2 innings at third base, and it's the only time in his career he had ever played third base until a couple of weeks ago.
Wow.
And it was in his big league debut.
10 years ago.
10 years ago. I mean, positionally, think about what's happened in the last couple of weeks. Cabrera playing third base for the first time since his debut. Walker playing first base for the first time ever in the big leagues. Reyes, who hadn't played second base in 13 years. And Jay Bruce, who until recently had played only a handful of games at first, he's gotten time at first base. So the Mets are putting guys in spots where they really either have never or have only rarely played before. Interestingly enough, defense probably better now than they've been at any point all season. Curveball misses 3-1 to Cabrera. Of course, Rosario has a lot to do with that. He looks like he can be a special defensive player.
Well, also they've taken, well, listen, Cabrera, one heck of a shortstop in his day, but 10 years later his speed fits the third base position better than it does the shortstop position.
And he's looked good there.
Yeah.
And Reyes has looked good playing second. Cabrera pops it up. Andrews angles out. And that's the second out. Flexen stays at second. So 2 out. Here's Bruce, who's grounded out and flied out 0 for 2.
You know, when you're facing a pitcher who doesn't have, you know, the 5-letter word stuff, you know, 95 plus, the hammer, all that kind of stuff, and guys have gone deep early, I think you can start to lend yourself that the whole lineup starts to look for that pitch to hit 450 feet, and sometimes you end up with a whole bunch of pop-ups.
Well, I think we saw that at times for the 3 years we watched Bartolo Colon. You know, when he was off, he'd give up as many home runs as anybody, but when he was on and you tried to hit the ball out of the ballpark, you ended up making weak contact.
Well, I just think you can't get into that mode, kind of like the Dodger game, where he hit 3 home runs early, and then the rest of the game spent hitting the ball in the air. You know, go back to that same approach. That approach is what lent itself for you hitting the ball out of the ballpark.
Bruce pulls off that curveball, and it's 1-2. You're just not going to see many people throwing a curveball at this velocity on a regular basis.
And he controls it. He knows how to throw it for a strike. And then if he gets ahead, he'll throw it even slower and bounce it.
And Jay chokes up with 2 strikes. And that curveball fouled off.
The only person I've seen pitch a little bit like A.J. Griffin in the last few years is Jared Weaver. You know, once he came back to the field a little bit with his velocity, he would throw those slow breaking balls.
I mean, he was throwing his fastball 82, 83. Noontime start tomorrow. So our coverage begins at 11:30 a.m. Set the alarm right here on SNY. Rafael Montero makes the start for the Mets. Not sure who's going to go for the Rangers. It might be Cashner, who got scratched tonight with a stiff neck. Could be the lefty Martin Perez. We'll have to see in the morning what Jeff Bannister decides. Bruce gets jammed by the fastball and fouls it off. The Mets on this homestand are 0 for 15 with runners in scoring position. They went 0 for 13 in the Dodgers series, 0 for 2 tonight. Change up off the plate, 2-2. Cespedes would be next. Eighth pitch coming to Bruce, and the curveball pulled foul. A little better read on that curve with each offering.
You know, it's interesting. I saw A.J. Griffin pitch some games when he was with Oakland a few years ago, and cutter was a big part of his game against left-handed hitters. Have not seen a lot of those this evening. I'm wondering post Tommy John if he not only maybe shelved that pitch or he doesn't use it as often. We've seen that a couple times now with some pitchers post Tommy John surgery.
This 2 full years before returning last season. Bruce lays off the curveball, 3-2. Griffin came back, made 23 starts last year after signing with the Rangers. Just his 10th start this year, not because of his arm, but he had an intercostal strain, which kept him out for 2 months. Pitch number 10 coming from Griffin to Bruce, and the curveball drilled down the line, but foul. Oh, every curve he sees in this at bat, he gets a little better read on.
Well, the pitch to throw, just whether Griffin is brave enough, and he is, he's a tough kid, is the fastball in. After all those slow curveballs, you want to throw that fastball in that could freeze Bruce. Let's see if he opts for that pitch.
Curveball hit down the right field line, hooking, foul. Bruce ran it out just in case.
He needs a new bat. Got that off the end and broke it. Chirinos is like, okay, buddy, we've tried everything. What do you want to do? I don't know. What do you want to do?
Chirinos has had a lot of arm around the shoulder tonight, trying to nurse A.J. Griffin through this game.
I will tell you, though, after all the thunder he's given up, he has battled and stayed in this game, and you know it's not like it's 8-1, it's 4-1.
And with the home run hitting ability the Rangers have, they can get back in a game very quickly. Well, he's having a marathon duel with Jay Bruce. This will be the 12th pitch. And he went outside with the changeup and missed for ball 4. Third walk given up by Griffin. So Bruce wins that battle and gets Cespedes to the plate with 2 men on.
Well, pitching coach Doug Brocail out to talk to him. You know, pitching on 1 day short rest for a guy like Griffin, who usually needs all of his arm strength, this could be his last inning. So just trying to get one more out of him.
And he's not a guy who normally throws 100 pitches anyway. He's done it once this year.
I mean, he's 7 innings top, 6 innings is the kind of pitcher he is.
And it's only his second start back from the disabled list. So he threw 81 in his last start and 81 so far tonight. Sunday, August 20th, McDonald's Family Sunday. The Mets take on the Marlins at 1:10. The first 15,000 fans in attendance will receive a toy truck presented by WB Mason. Plus, all kids 12 and under can run the bases after the game in the Mr. Met Dash, courtesy of Northwell Health. For tickets, visit Mets.com/Family Sunday. So here's Cespedes, who hit a rocket into the seats and left for a home run in the first inning. Flexen has spent the entire inning on the bases. He's at second, Bruce at first, and the first pitch curve from Griffin bends in for a strike. Cespedes' home run was his 12th of the year. Griffin has now given up 15 home runs in just under 50 innings. Arthur Joseph Griffin says sometimes when his mom gets mad, he hears Arthur, otherwise never.
It's a good name.
Ball for a strike. It's 1-2. Cespedes glancing back at Phil Cuzzy after that last call. Griffin has struck out 3, he's walked 3, he's given up 3 home runs. Which true outcome this time? When I say 3 true outcomes, does Brian Kenny get royalties?
Oh, he loves it. Come on. BK loves it.
And Cespedes lays off, and it's 2-2. Griffin 27 pitches deep into this 5th inning. And they've got warm-up action up in the Texas bullpen. Two out, 2 on, 2-2 to Cespedes. And the curveball well outside the full count. So that'll get Flexen and Bruce an automatic start.
Well, it's almost been entirely curveballs this inning, right? So why would you expect anything different here, even though it's 3-2, 2 outs?
A mistake with a curveball to Cespedes will pay big time. Curveball got under it to left, and Mazzara is there, and that retires the side. So Griffin with a 29 pitch inning strands 2 after 5, 4-1 New York. Second for the Rangers in the 6th inning. You know, it's amazing when you think about it, for a country that has a population of a little over 10 million, how many incredible major league athletes the Dominican Republic has produced over the years. I mean, there are 5 Dominican players in the 2 starting lineups tonight.
That's right.
And when you think about the population difference between the Dominican Republic and the United States, and the enormous number of players, particularly over the last 40 years, who have come out of the Dominican Republic, of course, it's an advantage to be able to play all year round. And for so many of these kids, especially those who grew up impoverished in the Dominican Republic, baseball is a huge dream to try and find a way for a better life.
Yeah, it's a national sport, and with a chance to get off the island and make your dreams come true.
Omar Mazara, native of the Dominican Republic, leading off in the 6th inning. He's been up twice, grounded out both times.
And I think we're starting to see it, Gary. You know, Pedro and now the 3,000 hits for Beltre, the first Dominican player to get 3,000 hits. You know, this is where we're going. The players, not only from the Dominican, are bountiful in the United States, but they're excellent, so excellent that we're going to see many years with one or a number of Dominican players going into the Hall of Fame.
Vladimir Guerrero.
That's right.
David Ortiz.
I mean, it's amazing for a small country that shares an island with 80.
That's true. It's not even an island. It's half an island.
That's right.
The island of Hispaniola. 1-2 to Mazara. Changeup up and away, 2-2. Beltre on deck, then Rougned Odor for the Rangers. Flexen gave up a solo home run to Joey Gallo, leading off in the 5th inning. 457 feet of home run. 2-2 coming, and Mazara taps one back to Flexen. Flexen spikes one over to Walker for the first out. Let's check in with the studio. Eamon McEnany has a game break brought to you by your Tri Honda dealer. All right, Eamon. Germán Marquez pitching that game for the Rockies.
Not just any pitcher. Corey Kluber, who is red hot right now.
Rockies with a half-game lead over Arizona going into the night for the first wild card spot. Here's Beltre, who's walked and grounded out 0 for 1. And a fastball from Flexen for a strike. Very impressive performance by Flexen. He gave up some long fly balls that were caught early on. Walked a couple in the 2nd, but was able to work around it. He's given up only 3 hits tonight through 5 1/3.
I mentioned it in the open. 3,000 hits. More than 450 home runs, more than 600 doubles. Aaron, Musial, Yastrzemski, and now Beltre. The cat and mouse game played here by the veteran with the youngster.
There is news off the field tonight indirectly regarding Beltre. It involves veteran umpire Joe West, who reportedly has been suspended for 3 games by Major League Baseball for comments that he made about Adrian Beltre. In the air to left center field, it's deep. Back goes Conforto onto the warning track at the wall. It's out of here. Career home run number 456. 11th of the year for Adrian Beltre to cut the Mets lead to 4-2.
Well, whenever you want to go inside with your fastball against a hitter like Beltre, you got to go in there with some gusto. And I think Flexen just didn't power it in there and left it out over the middle of the plate. And when you have 3,000 hits and 457 home runs and over 600 doubles, When a pitcher makes a pitch like that, you don't miss it. Sounded like a home run, didn't it?
Hit the bespectacled M&M. Well, there have been 5 home runs hit in this game. This is the latest. We had a game here Saturday. There were 9 home runs hit.
Maybe I had the wrong pitch there. That was 90, right? Yeah. Usually he throws his fastball on 94, 95.
Might have been his cutter.
Might have been his cutter or change.
Now Rougned Odor is flied out and been hit on the foot by a pitch. Well, Adrian Beltre, second among active players in extra base hits. Speaking of future Hall of Famers, the guy at the top of the list from the Dominican Republic.
Guy 4th on the list. Oh, he's from Venezuela, but Cabrera is going to be in the Hall of Fame someday too.
And so might Robinson Cano.
That's right.
Carlos Beltran, I think, will. He's from Puerto Rico, but Cano from the Dominican Republic.
Wow.
It's an amazing agglomeration of talent. Odor went around in the half swing, and it's 1-2. You know, shortly before the Mets saw the Rangers had a 10-game winning streak. That was in May. There was great hope that they would rebound from what had been a slow start and put together another run at the American League West title. But the Astros got off to a tremendous start, and shortly after winning 10 in a row, the Rangers lost 10 of 12, and they've kind of been scuttling around under 500 since.
Remember, they got off to a slow start last season and won 95 games in the AL West. So
good changeup by Flexen to strike out Odor. That's his 4th strikeout of the night. 2 out in the 6th.
It's the best changeup I think he's thrown all night, because not only did it start on the plate, but it had the kind of the speed differential and also the movement to take it off the strike zone.
By Gomez, who never gets cheated. There's the AL West, which is a walkover for the Astros. Well, it was 2 years and a week or so ago that the Mets traded for Carlos Gomez, only to untrade for him.
Oh, is that, the Flores and that's right. Zach Wheeler was involved in that deal.
Gomez wound up instead being traded to the Astros, where he struggled. Then he got traded at the deadline again last year to Texas. Of course, Wilmer was moved to tears at the thought of leaving the Mets, but he's still here, and this is what the two of them have done since the non-trade. Of course, the other piece of that is, had the Mets gone through it with the trade for Gomez, they never would have had Cespedes. So I think that's a different way of looking at it.
And they would have had Michael Fulmer. Another way of looking at it.
That's true too. 2-2 coming. Off the plate, full count to Gomez. You know, when you mess with history,
that's right.
You never know what the repercussions might be.
We can't do any time travel here.
Gomez takes a low ball 4 and a 2-out walk. And we'll see whether the Mets will stick with Flexen or make the move. And here comes Terry, and that's going to be all. So Chris Flexen, with by far his most successful start to date, will leave after 5 2/3. His first home start, and it has gone well for Chris tonight. A couple of solo home runs, the only damage against him, and he'll leave with the lead. Call to the bullpen brought to you by Verizon. To take the mound at Citi Field and throw out the first pitch in the Mets first pitch sweepstakes presented by SNY and Papa John's. Go to sny.tv/Papa John's and enter today. Chris Flexen done after 5 2/3 innings and 89 pitches, leaves with a 4-2 lead in favor of Eric Goodell.
Lots of games for Goodell on his 19th already after being called up. You like that number. Inherited runners stranded.
Came in behind Steven Matz in the 6th inning Sunday night and got 2 outs. He comes in to face Joey Gallo and he throws a splitter for strike 1. Gallo hit a tape measure home run into the seats in center field his last time up, his 31st of the year. Joey Gallo has 31 home runs. He has 20 singles. Think about that.
In 112 games, right?
20 singles, 12 doubles, 2 triples, and 31 home runs. That's almost impossible.
But it is. It is possible now.
Well, Joey's just 23 years old. Came up 2 years ago and made a quick splash and was hurt most of last year.
You know, he really got his chance this year because of Adrian Beltre. Beltre did not start the season with the team because of, I think, a bad calf.
Right. And so Gallo played a lot of third base early in the season. 0-2 from Goodell. That's smacked to right center field, back in the gap, and that's going to go all the way back to the wall. Gomez flying to third. He's around and heading home, and he will score without a throw. Joey Gallo with his 2nd RBI of the night greets Goodell with a 2-strike double, and the Rangers pull within a run. It's 4-3.
They got thumped throughout this lineup, and no bigger thumper than Gallo. Gets this kind of off the end, but he's just so strong. Hits a bullet. Shouldn't say off the end. He got that off the good part of the bat. Just didn't hit it in the air. Just a line drive to right center, and Gomez might not run like he used to, but can still go get him.
Still faster than most.
Yes, he is. Fun to watch, too.
So that run is charged to Flexen. Book on him is closed. 3 runs, 4 hits over 5 2/3 against Chris. Now the tying run at second, and Robinson Chirinos the batter. Pitcher Spadu up next. And Drew Robinson, a left-hand batter, has come out on deck to pinch hit. Chirinos has a walk and a double. Hit the double down the left field line his last time up. It's a better splitter by Goodell, and it's 1-1.
Terry
Tony Barnett up in the bullpen for Texas.
Terry Collins uses Goodell mainly in this kind of area to get out of an inning, because he's a guy that can come in and throw forkball and breaking ball. Doesn't have to throw his fastball.
Staying with the splitter, and it's 1-2.
Two good splitters in a row. This is the one prior. See how it comes out of his hand. It's really right on the horseshoe of that ball. That one was more the speed differential. The last one we just saw just dove in the strike zone, out of the strike zone.
Well, he got ahead on Gallo 0-2 before he gave up the double. He's ahead on Chirinos 1-2. Buries a splitter in the dirt, 2-2. Gallo at second with 2 down. And Chirinos takes the fastball off the plate, 3-2. That's at a 4-0 lead in this game. But Gallo homered in the 5th. Beltre homered here in the 6th. And now Gallo has driven in a run with a double. First run for either side tonight that did not score via the home run. Variety is the spice of life.
Still no singles.
3-2 coming. Popped it up into shallow right. Bruce coming on. And that retires the side. But the Rangers get closer with a couple. One of them on career home run number 456 for Adrian Beltre, his 3,006th hit. 4-3 Mets as we go to the bottom of the 6th. SNY Super Slow Motion is brought to you by your Mercedes-Benz Tri-State dealers. Mercedes-Benz, the best or nothing. Mets box score presented by Verizon. Mets hit 3 home runs in the first 2 innings of this game. Conforto, Cespedes, and d'Arnaud to get all 4 of their runs. They had a 4-0 lead, which is now 4-3 as we go to the bottom of the 6th. And 33-year-old right-hander Tony Barnett takes over the pitching for Texas.
Well, he was a rookie last year with Texas when he went 7-3 in 53 games after coming back from the Japanese professional leagues. He played for the Yakult Swallows.
Barnett out of Arizona State pitches to Neil Walker. And Neil greets him with a base hit to center field. So Neil, who had been 3 for 29 since coming off the disabled list before that at bat, gets a base hit on the first pitch he sees from Barnett.
See a lot of cutters from Barnett. This one just right down the middle, and Walker jumped all over it.
Here's Reyes, who's walked and struck out tonight, 0 for 1. And he pops up the first pitch into shallow right center. Gomez coming in. Very shallow for the first out. Tonight's starters brought to you by People's United Bank. Chris Flexen, his best start to date. His 3rd big league start, and he is in line for the win. A.J. Griffin gave up 3 home runs early, then steadied. And both teams now in the bullpen. There's Travis d'Arnaud, who hit a 2-run homer back in the 2nd. Mentioned that Tony Barnett went to Arizona State. He was 1 year ahead of a noted Arizona State left-hander named Ike Davis.
You mean the pitcher Ike Davis?
Now pitcher. He was a pitcher at Arizona State.
That's right.
Mike Leake was on that team too. But now Ike is taking up pitching in the Dodger organization. What do you think? Think he's got a shot?
Well, why not? He's mercurial enough to make it work. I like Ike. So his first appearance struck out the side. So in the Arizona League, I believe.
By the way, you would fit in the 50s there.
What?
I like Ike.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. Except if you're an Adlai fan.
1-1 to d'Arnaud. Ahmed Rosario on deck, and then the pitcher's spot behind him.
Well, considering where Tony Barnett started, it's not that big of a leap for him to have gone to play in the Japanese professional leagues. He was born in Anchorage, Alaska, one of the few major league players born there.
Same town where Curt Schilling was born. On the corner, 1-2 to d'Arnaud. Jerry Blevins up in the Mets bullpen. Jeff Bannister did not double switch, so he's got the pitcher spot due to lead off in the 7th.
Jeff Bannister, who before he became manager of the Texas Rangers was the bench coach under Clint Hurdle in Pittsburgh, so he would know everything you need to know about double switching.
So if you're Terry Collins and you don't get to the pitcher spot this inning, Do you send Goodell back to the mound even if you intend to bring in Blevins, so you force Bannister to announce a left-handed pinch hitter?
I would.
And then make the switch at that point?
That's right.
1-2 coming, and d'Arnaud goes down swinging on the curveball for the second out. So 2 away, and now Rosario, who's grounded out and flied out tonight, 0 for his last 10, playing his 7th big league game tonight. Curtis Granderson has come out on deck. He'll pinch hit for the pitcher if Rosario keeps the inning going. Walker at first and 2 out. And Rosario takes a cutter for a strike.
You know, I've always thought that the biggest hurdle for young everyday players once they come to the major leagues is that if you have a hole, the major league pitchers are going to be able to go there early and often.
Is it that the minor league pitchers can't identify the hole, or they can't exploit it as well?
They can identify it. They can exploit it as well. Yeah. What you'll have in the minor leagues a lot is that someone will tell a minor league pitcher, hey, he swings the balls off the strike zone. So they'll start the at bat with the ball out of the strike zone. Well, that's not when he's going to swing at it. You have to get a couple of strikes first, then expand the strike zone.
0-2 to Ahmed, and he grounds one slowly down to Beltre, and that retires the side. So a leadoff single by Walker. He's left stranded, and we head to the 7th at Citi Field with the Mets up a run, 4-3. Worley pitching that game for Miami. He's been pitching well lately.
That's two good starts in a row for Worley.
Well, Jeff Bannister crossing things up here. The Mets do leave Goodell on to pitch, and Bannister sends up a right-hand pinch hitter, Delino DeShields, who often leads off for the Rangers, and he'll lead off in this 7th inning. So a lot of chess being played.
That's right. Well, the DeShields is his guy, though, whether it's a right-hander, left-hander, or whatever, because of his speed.
Corners are in against him. Second generation big leaguer takes a fastball for a strike, 0-2. Shin-Soo Choo on deck, and then Elvis Andrus in the 7th against Goodell, who gave up a run scoring double to Gallo in the 6th before retiring Chirinos for the final out.
Had the pleasure of playing against his father. Excellent player.
Traded for Pedro Martinez. Everybody thought it was a steal for the Dodgers.
It was a steal, but not for the Dodgers.
Well, at the time, Pedro was a skinny relief pitcher.
Well, the whole book on him was that his control was lacking, that his size would negate him being able to be a starting pitcher. All of those things, which everyone was dead wrong. He only became one of the greatest of all time.
But even when he got to Montreal, he was still very raw.
Yeah.
1-2 coming. I mean, I remember he had a tendency to hit batters, and they would put him down in the bullpen with a cardboard cutout of a hitter to try and teach him to throw inside without hitting people. Remember when he was working on a perfect game against the Reds.
That's right.
And he hit Reggie Sanders with a pitch. It was like the 7th inning. Sanders charged him out.
That's right.
More because of Pedro's reputation than, understanding of the moment.
Well, every team in the league thought that Pedro was a headhunter, and that wasn't a fact. The fact was that he was just wild and just trying to find his way.
And then he became so precise with all 3 of his pitches.
So precise, but every once in a while he'll let you know.
Well, he still had it in his back pocket. 2-2 to DeShields. Struck him out with a fastball. So Goodell has his first strikeout, 1 away. Well, don't want to let this broadcast go much farther, as Terry Collins will come out to make a pitching change. So we'll hold that in abeyance. You got the left-hand hitter Shin-Soo Choo coming up. And so Jerry Blevins is going to come into the game, and Terry's going to make a double switch. Mets up 4-3 in the 7th. Blevins coming in. We'll be right back to Citi Field. Play first base, he'll bat 9th. Neil Walker moves from first base to second base, and Jerry Blevins will pitch and bat 6th.
See the numbers for Blevins on the season, untarnished in the 1 loss, a record. Right-handers have got to him more this season than last.
Shin-Soo Choo will be the first man to face him. Choo is 0 for 3 tonight. I didn't want the broadcast to get too much further without talking about two incredible stalwarts that the game lost in the last couple of days. Two men who really shared a lot of qualities. Darren Daulton and Don Baylor both passed away within the last 48 hours. Incredibly strong men, both of them. Incredible leaders in their own way, both of them, and both passed away far too young. Daulton was just 55. Baylor was just 68. Both were beaten by cancer after long battles.
Glioblastoma for Daulton. It's taken away a lot of the greats. Our own New York Mets, Gary Carter, had the same disease. But you know, I played against Darren Dutch Daulton, one of the great nicknames of all time. And when you were in the other dugout, it was palpable who the leader of that Phillies teams were. He just honestly played with a swagger. It was almost like you were playing against a cowboy. You know, he just had that kind of presence. And even though they had a lot of, not nonsense, but they had a lot of fun with those teams, especially the '93 team, he always was kind of the heartbeat of that team.
Well, I think that he was able to live with, moderate, and rein in a lot of the free spirits on that team. You're talking about Len Dykes, John Kruk, and Kurt Schilling as Schutz strikes out for the second out. But he was really the heart and soul of that team, and then later went to the Marlins and was part of their '97 World Series run. In fact, that was the end of his career. But the folks on that team, which was a bunch of mercenaries who had come from other organizations, he was really a stabilizing influence there as well.
Batted cleanup in Game 7 for that ball club. And as far as Don Groove Baylor, another great nickname, is concerned, he was on the '86 Red Sox team. And I remember we had our advanced scouts come in and talk about all of the Red Sox hitters and how to get them out. And the way to get Baylor out, they told us, is that you had to pitch him in, but if you pitched him in, you probably hit him. And we're all looking at each other like, that's the scouting report? And they were, yeah, because he covers everything else. And, you know, because of the DH in 4 games here at Shea Stadium, he played less than he probably should have in that series.
You know, Baylor first came up with the Orioles. He was supposed to be the next Frank Robinson. It didn't work out for him there. They traded him for Reggie Jackson to Oakland, and that's where he really blossomed. 1 year there, and then with the Angels, where he won the MVP in '79. And he was also the bench coach for the Mets under Art Howe for 2 years. And that's when he was first diagnosed with cancer. And I remember this vividly.
Yeah.
He would go for chemotherapy appointments in the morning. He'd be on the job that afternoon, and never missed a beat, never complained one moment. Just an incredibly strong, giving man. And both those gentlemen, Darren Daulton and Don Baylor, will be missed by the baseball community enormously.
Born leaders, simple as that.
It's funny because Baylor had never been in a World Series till they got to the Red Sox in '86, and then he went again with the Twins the next year, and again with the A's the year after that, and they won all 3. Well, they won 2 of them.
Yeah.
They almost won the other one. It said
Probably
congratulations.
should have.
It said congratulations on the board.
You were going with that.
2-2 to Elvis Andrus, and that's on the outside corner. Blevins with back-to-back strikeouts, and that finishes the Rangers in the top of the 7th. Stretch time at Citi Field, 4-3 New York. Another slugger's night at Citi Field. 5 home runs in this game. Chris Flexen with his best start to date. Mets have a 4-3 lead as we go to the bottom of the 7th. And 40-year-old Seton Hall Pirate Jason Grilli takes over the pitching for the Rangers.
Jason from the you're going to have to tear the uniform off me department. Love to see it. The second go around with Texas, he was with them in 2009. We saw his best work in a Pirates uniform. He started the season this year with Toronto. And now here in Texas again.
Pitched for 9 different major league teams. A true survivor. Wilmer Flores up for the first time, and Grilli throws a fastball by him, 1-1.
Still throwing 94.
Wilmer started Sunday night, went 0 for 3 against Tunjin Ryu and the Dodgers. Mets were held to 1 hit in that game. They have 5 tonight, including 3 home runs. And Wilmer with a half cut fouls it back, 1-2. A.J. Griffin went the first 5 for Texas, allowed 4 runs, 4 hits. He's on the hook. Tony Barnett pitched a scoreless 6th, allowed a hit. And now Grilli to face Flores, then Conforto and Cabrera in the 7th. Jason Grilli, who began his major league career in 2000. Not before 2000, but in 2000. And he strikes out Flores with a high fastball. First came up as a Florida Marlin. Long before anybody thought that there'd be Miami Marlins. He was a Florida Marlin.
Fastball up, gets by Flores. What's the story you tell me? His father owned a restaurant?
Father owned the Change of Pace Bar, which was just outside the right field fence of MacArthur Stadium in Syracuse.
Okay.
The old ballpark where the AAA team used to play, and the best wings in all of Syracuse.
Well, what made them the best wings? Well, there's many reasons.
Well, they were even better if you were playing Pop-A-Shot at Steve Grilli's Change of Pace Bar.
I bet you're a world record Pop-A-Shot guy.
They were just the right texture. They had the heat baked in rather than just sauce on top of them. Just
there you go.
Perfect wings. 2-0 to Conforto.
I played in that old stadium. I liked playing there. They were affiliate with the Toronto Blue Jays. See Seawald up in those days and had a lot of talent going through there. George Bell.
Right before he came up for his World Championship years.
Jimmy Key was one of the AAA guys I played against.
Three 3-0 to Conforto, who homered back in the first inning, walked in the second. And Grilli walks him on 4 pitches, and Conforto's on base for the 3rd time tonight. Drive around the majors brought to you by Audi. Giancarlo Stanton now 38 home runs. And Vance Worley and the Marlins comfortably in front of the Nats. Charlie Blackmon led off the game with a home run against Corey Kluber, and that's been enough so far for the Rockies and German Marquez. And the Phillies lead the Braves in the 6th.
So Dexter Fowler revisited by Kluber, right?
Now Cabrera, who's 0 for 3 tonight, 0 for 15 on this homestand. Really starts him with a slider, and he held the swing. Ball 1. It's been a rough year with the long ball for Grilli. 29 2/3 innings, 10 home runs allowed. Now his 10th appearance for Texas after 26 outings for Toronto, and that's drilled down the line by Cabrera. That's a fair ball going into the corner. Conforto races for 3rd. Dug out by Chewy, has trouble picking it up. Conforto will score, and in its 2nd with an RBI double as has dribbled Cabrera. And the Mets now have a 5-3 lead. First hit of the homestand for Cabrera, and it drives in a key run. Conforto is not known for his speed, but he can really go once he gets started on the base.
Well, he's a good base runner. First, good hitter right here. Cabrera gets the ball down and in. It's a strength of almost all left-handed hitters, and he wraps it down the line. Watch Chu when he gets there. Ball takes a bounce off the fence and goes to his left. He wasn't prepared for that carom. And Conforto, like you said, once he gets going, knows how to run the bases, knows how to cut corners, and picks up his coach there to score the 5th run.
So the Mets tack one on here in the 7th. First run they've scored without a home run on this homestand.
Well, you said it to me between breaks, is that this Texas bullpen has struggled. Sam Dyson was their closer. They sent him packing. They went to Matt Bush.
We saw him struggle in Texas when the Mets were there. They traded Jeremy Jeffress at the deadline. He hadn't done much for them, but he was part of the deadline house cleaning. Bruce is 0 for 2 and a walk tonight. A 12-pitch plate appearance his last time up against Griffin in the 5th before he walked. And takes a slider down late. Advanced by Cabrera, and he's tagged out by Beltre for the 2nd out. Well, Cabrera trying to catch them napping with the shift on, and it didn't work.
Well, he's trying to do a delayed steal, and the ball was in the dirt. And he didn't think Beltre was going to be able to come from his position and cover it in time. And I think Beltre set a record here for holding a tag on a runner the longest amount ever.
Just making sure. It probably was a time in his career that Cabrera could have pulled that off. Just doesn't have the foot speed to do it now.
Somewhere there's the sly fox against the young hare there or something. Seawald up again.
So Bruce batting with 2 out and nobody on. 1 and 2 the count. Certainly helped Grilli out. And Bruce goes down on the high fastball to end the inning. 2nd strikeout for Grilli, but the Mets get a run. Cabrera with the RBI double stretches the Mets lead. 5-3 New York as we go to the 8th. SNY Mets game on the go on any device all season long with live streaming presented by Verizon. Just download the NBC Sports app or visit SNY.TV, your new home for live streaming coverage of every SNY Mets game. Jerry Blevins came in the 7th, struck out the only 2 batters he faced. He'll stay in to face the heart of the Rangers order in the 8th, with the Mets now 2 runs ahead. Nomar Mazara 0 for 3, 3 ground ball outs tonight against Chris Flexen, and he takes the curveball outside from Blevins. Flexen went 5 2/3, allowed 3 runs, 4 hits, in line for his first big league win. If the bullpen can get him 6 more outs. Adrian Beltre on deck, and Mazara takes the curve outside 2-0. Finds the plate 2-1. See, normally when you see a curve with a 6 in front of the miles per hour, you say, wow, that's slow. But tonight, having watched A.J. Griffin for 5 innings throw him 63 and 64, no biggie. And now Blevins behind Mazara, 3-1.
Can't lose this guy here. I know Jerry's already struck out a couple, but he's got to finish the task with Mazara.
Seawald continues to throw in the Mets bullpen with the right-hand hitter Beltre on deck. And Mazara takes a knee-high strike, 3-2. Again, the 3-2. And the curveball struck him out. 3 batters, 3 strikeouts for Jerry Blevins, 1 down in the 8th.
Well, it wasn't his best curveball, but after the last pitch, Mazara was on the fastball. So good choice by Jerry and Travis d'Arnaud. Mazara tried to pull his hands in to try to hit that baseball, but kind of cost him missing the ball.
So now Adrian Beltre, who homered his last time up, his 11th of the year, and takes a fastball strike. Beltre 4 for 10 in his career against Blevins. His 20th big league season. Had his helmet pulled down over his eyes that entire time.
There's only, I think he's the third, primarily a third baseman to hit to have 3,000 hits, right? Brett and Boggs, I think they're the only other 2.
Sounds right. And a fastball strike, 1-2. Bounces the curve, 2-2. Rougned Odor waiting on deck. Blevins has had some more extended outings over the last few weeks. Remember, he had a 5-out save not long ago. Facing his 4th batter here. And the curveball popped up. In comes Bruce to shallow right. 2 out. 4 up and 4 down for Blevins. Let's go back to our Verizon trivia question. The 3 active players to debut before 2000. I think we nailed this one. Beltre, Colon, and Beltran.
Beltran came up in that 98 season, right? It was 99 was his rookie year.
Rookie of the year for the Royals in 99. So Blevins has faced 4, retired 4. Now again Odor with 2 out and nobody on. Odor has flied out, been hit by a pitch, and struck out tonight, 0 for 2. And a fastball just misses, ball 1. That is a lot of pine tar on that helmet.
Well, some of the players like to have that look. You know, they love to, even before they take their first at bat of the year. Sometimes it's not build up. They make their hat look like that. That's their piece of art.
Even for those who try their best to cake their helmets with pine tar, that is some spectacular work on Odor's part.
Remember the Red Sox in '04, they were that grungy team, and every helmet was tarnished like that.
The question is, how did Johnny Damon balance the helmet and the hair?
Just perfectly that year.
Because you get pine tar in that long beard, long hair. It'd be hard to get it out. Good fastball by Blevins, and he's 2-2 on Odor.
See the limping of Odor. Remember, he was hit by Flexen in the left foot earlier in the game. And after that swing, he had a couple of gentle steps out of the box.
2-2 coming. And he fouls away the fastball. This is going to be Blevins' last batter, you would assume. If Odor were to reach, we'd probably see Sewald come in to face Gomez. And if the Mets can get a lead to the ninth, perhaps A.J. Ramos will get a crack at his first save for the Mets. 2-2 coming, and the curveball pulled foul. It's been rough for Ramos so far since he put on a Mets uniform. But perhaps the specter of his first save as a Met will point him in the right direction. That's often the case with closers.
A little like extra adrenaline rush, right?
Two. Line caught. Side retired. Blevins matches his longest outing of the year by getting 5 outs. 5 up and 5 down with 3 strikeouts. 5-3 Mets in the 8th. Moments from some of the top high school ballers as SNY and Overtime team up to bring you the best New York City hoops highlights all summer long. Check it out on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Go to the last of the 8th inning on a gorgeous night in New York. Double switch for the Rangers. Drew Robinson comes into play second. He'll bat 9th, and Jose Leclerc will pitch in the bottom of the 8th.
Well, he made the roster coming out of spring training. You see the strikeouts and innings pitched. Tells you a little bit about his stuff, but was on the disabled list with a sprained index finger for a while.
He's got the Darvish-esque repertoire where he'll throw just about any pitch you can think of. Cespedes gets a fastball and gets under one and lifts it to Mazzara in left. One pitch and one out. SNY Super Slow Motion is brought to you by your Mercedes-Benz Tri-State dealers. Mercedes-Benz, the best or nothing. You almost got a dented fender there.
The things that happen in this booth. I know they have the RoboCam. We've got to play the outtakes one day.
I think we should have a show that is just what happens in the booth.
Wow. Got to be edited very carefully.
Well, it depends what hour of the day you show.
Very careful about that show.
We'd probably be 4 a.m. programming anyway. Neil Walker's 1 for 3 tonight on a base hit his last time up. Pitcher spot due up next. Curtis Granderson is out on deck. And Walker takes low and away 2-0. Jose Leclerc, just 23 years old. And in the Rangers bullpen that has really struggled this year, he's been a bright spot.
He really has. To be that young and have the stuff he has, 95 plus. There's Ramos getting ready, for, as Gary said, for his first save chance if the Mets don't add on here.
Haven't been many save chances since AJ arrived. The Mets have lost 7 of their last 8. Coming up tonight after the post game, it's Geico Sports Night. Jets, Anger, Giants, Knicks. Geico Sports Night.
Are they angry again in Jets camp?
You know, let's have a winning season, then maybe there won't be quite so much anger. Walker fouls it away. By the way, we made reference earlier to the Joe West reported suspension. We did not follow through on why he was suspended.
Because Adrian hit a home run. That's why.
Well, apparently he said in an interview that Adrian Beltre was the biggest complainer in baseball. Now, it seems like kind of a benign thing to say as Walker strikes out. But the other thing is we never usually hear about umpires getting suspended. Usually they keep that sub rosa. I don't know why this one in particular got out.
Yeah, there's a secret silent probation for Joe West. I don't know. I look at it this way. If you complain about a guy being a big complainer, doesn't that make you a complainer?
I guess.
I mean, why would you want to temper this man's great achievement? I don't get it. But on the shelf for a couple days.
Well, I guess that's why baseball responded the way they did. Here's Granderson pinch hitting. Curtis started Sunday night, went 0 for 3 after homering and walking twice on Saturday. Ahead of that one and hits it into the promenade down the right field line. 0-2. In the ninth, the Rangers will have 6, 7, and 8 in the order. Gomez, Gallo, and Chirinos due up. Remember, they have Mike Napoli sitting on the bench as a power bat potential pinch hitter at the pitcher's spot. Coming up. Inside of low 1 and 2. They double switched Robinson into the game, so he's in the 9th spot, due up 4th in the inning. And he's a power threat. I guess everybody on this Rangers team is. Anderson went around on the breaking ball, side retired. So an impressive inning for Jose Leclerc. Sets the Mets down 1-2-3 with 2 strikeouts. Now it's Ramos for the save as we go to the 9th. Game show. They're back in the studio for the post-game show. AJ Ramos looking for his first save as a Met.
See his numbers mostly with the Marlins, of course. Got to keep people off base in front of Gallo. That's the key.
And the person to keep off is Carlos Gomez, who went around on that half swing on a first pitch slider by Ramos.
If you're up at bat and you're down by 2 runs, why would you be offering at a breaking pitch at all? You have to take a pitch to try to get on base in front of a power hitter.
How many years have you watched Carlos Gomez?
I know, but I mean, just one time. Go.
I mean, that's the kind of stuff that drove Ron Gardenhire so crazy that the Twins basically gave up on him.
Oh, I remember talking to Ron when the Twins were in the postseason, and I go, how do you like Gomez so far? He goes, he's one of the greatest athletes I've ever seen. I don't know if he can play baseball, but he's one of the greatest athletes I've ever seen.
But that's what happened when he went to Milwaukee. They basically took the reins off Gomez and said, be yourself.
Yeah,
and he became an all-star.
Well, they wanted him to be, I mean, most teams, and I included the Mets, wanted him to be, you know, chop the ball on the ground, line drives, use his speed.
Bunt.
And Milwaukee was like, just try to hit the ball over the fence. That's what you want to do.
Strikes out on the slider, and Ramos has the first down of the night. Not a good at bat by Gomez. This is Ramos' 4th appearance as a Met, but his first in his primary role as a closer.
Well, smart job by Ramos. Watch the follow through, folks. Back leg contorted about as high as you'll see.
AJ is not a big guy. He's only 5'10". There's Gallo. A home run and a double tonight. He's driven in 2. And Ramos keeps it away from him, ball 1.
It's almost the follow through you'll see from a shot putter or a discus thrower in the Olympics. Change up by Ramos to get even on Gallo, 1-1. Well, that's what makes Ramos unique, is that he's a 4-pitch pitcher in the 9th inning.
Robinson, Chirinos on deck. Drew Robinson would be behind him. 1-1 to Gallo. Another changeup that's just off the plate. Looked like Phil Cuzzi was tempted to put the right hand up, but did not.
Watch this angle and the follow through. Lands on the kind of a stiff front leg and a beautiful pose. The leg gets up higher than he is.
It's like a synchronized swimmer when he's got that leg up.
There you go. That's a better call.
Except he's doing it above the water surface. Two coming in the dirt with a changeup. 3-2. Well, Gallo's dangerous, but Gallo can't tie the game. The way they can tie it is if they get a man on. And Chirinos waiting on deck. 3-2. Got him looking. Change up on the inside corner. I'm not sure if that's where he meant it, but it worked. Back-to-back strikeouts for Ramos to start the night.
Well, he had the 2 options. He wanted to throw the changeup, but he had to throw it for a strike because he didn't want to walk him, as you said, Gary. And that ball surprised Gallo on the inside corner.
So now the Rangers are down to their final out. Robinson, Chirinos the batter. Chirinos a double and a walk tonight. He's 1 for 2. He smacks one deep left field down the line toward the corner. It's out of here. Robinson Chirinos with a 2-out home run in the 9th to cut the Met lead to a single run. 13th of the year for Chirinos, his 2nd against the Mets. Remember, he took Blevins deep in Texas. And now the Rangers have pulled within 1. That's their 3rd home run of the night. The Mets have hit 3 as well.
Well, we mentioned earlier in the game that he doesn't hit for a high average, but Chirinos has got some pop. And the first pitch fastball up and in, he turned on it. And just a bullet out of here, and the balls are just jumping. I mean, boy.
5th home run that Ramos has allowed this year. Now Drew Robinson with 2 out and nobody on. Takes curveball for a strike. So Ramos has shown you all 4 pitches in his arsenal in this 9th inning. Robinson, another one of these Las Vegas products who can hit home runs. Rookie utility man takes the changeup down 1-1.
He had a couple of 20 home run seasons in the minor leagues.
He's got 3 home runs and 29 big league at bats so far with Texas. His first at bat in this game came in on a double switch in the 8th. Robinson against Ramos with 2 out and nobody on in a 1-run game. And Robinson swings at the changeup, and now the Rangers are down to their final strike. One-two. Grounded down to first, handled by Flores, and the ball game is over. A.J. Ramos gets his first save as a Met. Chris Flexen gets his first major league win. The Mets hit 3 home runs, get a big insurance run from Cabrera in the 7th, and they snap a 4-game losing streak as they beat the Rangers 5-4.
Well, you got to be happy for Chris Flexen, who gets his first win, his first hit in this game. The bullpen was impeccable. Goodell, Blevins, now Ramos with his first save as a New York Met, and Terry Collins Mets get their 50th win of the season.
Game summary presented by Verizon. Congratulations to Chris Flexen, by far his best start as a Met, and it earns him his first win in his first Citi Field appearance. A.J. Ramos, his first save as a Met, his 21st of the year. Conforto, Cespedes, and Darno all go deep. as the Mets win at 5-4. For every Mets win, the Mets organization is proud to contribute $2,500 to Northwell Health and the Katz Institute for Women's Health. For more information, visit northwell.edu/cats. This win brings the total contribution so far this season to $125,000. Every Mets win this year means another opportunity to win amazing prizes from Delta Airlines. Go to sny.tv/Delta Dugout to sign up now. Mets have beaten the Rangers 2 of 3 this year. They get the 1-run win tonight. 5-4 the final. More from Citi Field coming right up.